Good afternoon, everyone. Have you ever subtly judged someone for reacting to a situation a particular way? For example, grief, and somebody's grieving, and you have questions. You were wondering, but the person was old, but his mother was 90 something, but it's been 10 years. Why are you still acting? And so it takes me to the quote that says, "You never know how it hurts until you walk in someone else's shoes." My name is Sekinah Davies. I'm an entrepreneur, but I stand before you today as someone who has experienced raw grief. And that's why I'll be telling you what I learned from the passing of my brother. 28th of February 2017 is a day that I'll never forget in my life. It all started in 2016, December, when my siblings and I decided to surprise my parents. My mother especially, they live in Benin. My mom broke her leg like some months prior to December. And we decided to surprise her. She's been confined to the bed for months and all. She was frustrated, not having to move. And my mom is very active. And so we said, you know what, Christmas, we'll all go. And we did. As a family, my siblings from everywhere, from abroad, we all came with our children, our spouses, and we had the best time. We had an amazing Christmas. We had the celebrations, food, prayers, just family time. My parents were very happy. But in that celebration, my mom noticed something about my immediate older brother. And she kept on talking about it, like, are you okay? Are you good? And telling us, Malik, are you sure it's fine? And everyone says it's fine, it's stress, Lagos stress. He just got a new appointment, it's stress. And we said, okay. Now, fast forward to holidays over, everyone is going back. My siblings, we all went back after a very, very amazing time. And they went back to Lagos. My sister, who lives abroad, her husband is a doctor, by the way, gastro doctor. And she says, you know what, let's just go to the UK together. Doesn't matter. If you're fine, you're fine. You have the visa, let's just go. So go with me. And then my brother goes. And so because my brother-in-law is a doctor, they were able to get an appointment in the hospital and everything. And that was where it all began. My brother was actually bleeding internally all the while. Yeah, so all the while he was lethargic and weak, and in Nigeria they were telling him, just anemic, just take iron tabs, take ugu and all that. And he was bleeding internally, so they had to do emergency blood transfusion. They had to do all the tests and all that. And even after that, aside the bleeding and the transfusion, of course, they did scans and they realized that he had a growth in his colon. Yeah. And with that, it was a ride. And so the doctors began their job. They started doing all that they could do. And they realized that it was stage 4 cancer. I think I just said that for the first time. I actually never say it. Just to say that this is the first time I actually saying this story. And at the time in Nigeria, I just got a job. And I was not entitled to leave or anything. I was on probation. And so I begged my boss. I said, you know what, I have to be by my brother's side. I just have to be. I don't know if I mentioned they were very close knit in my family. My siblings and I are extremely close. And so I said, I have to be there. I don't care whatever I would take, but please. And so we got the approvals and I was able to go. Now I'd been teasing him and I would say, look out your window, I'm outside. And so I surprised him and I went to see him. I was happy. I saw him. Of course, I cried in silence. I didn't want him to see me cry. And of course, they had to stabilize him. They had to do all that before they started chemo and all. So fast forward to February 26th. And of course, I had spent about 7 or 8 days. And we had to be admitted in the hospital again. And so when he was admitted, this time, of course, they said his blood wasn't clotting. They had to, check him properly and do all that they needed to do. And so they were doing all that. And on the 27th, because I was going back to Nigeria on the 28th, I was with him in the hospital. I went to get dinner. He said he will have and all that. Anyways, because of time, I'll just summarize. My brother passed. Yes, he passed, and I watched him pass. I watched him take his last breath. But you know the funny thing? Even as I watched him pass, I didn't think about death. Death was the last thing on my mind. I watched him take his last breath. The doctors were telling us all that they were telling us, but I didn't listen, and I didn't believe it, because I never imagined living my life without him. I never imagined having milestones, having my 40th, 50th without him. But that was what happened. My flight back to Nigeria was the longest flight I've ever had in my life. I didn't eat, I didn't drink, I didn't talk to anybody. I sat on that flight like my world stopped. And so that taught me a lot of lessons, but I'll just give you three. One, it taught me that a mother's instinct is divine, is supernatural, regardless of whatever it is. Once a mother feels something in her guts, it's probably right. And two, I learned that family time is priceless. There's nothing like family time spent with, so because memories are all that you have. I think of my brother, and in as much as I miss him, but I have the fondest memories with him. And then the third thing it taught me was that, Seki, live your life. I've worked all my adult life, and it taught me that live, because some of us are alive, but we're not truly living. And so with that, I'll conclude by saying that if you're a mother here and you feel something in your gut, or you feel something about anything, or your child, it might just be right. So you don't take your guts for granted. Trust your instincts, or trust your intuitions. And I'll tell you also that please live your life. I know you're the breadwinner. I know you have a lot of responsibilities. I know you want to make that money, but you know what? We don't own tomorrow. My brother was 36 when he passed. I had hope, I had faith, I believed, and he also had plans for his life. Sometimes I imagine what he will be if he was still alive, but you see, he's no more. So you know what? Live your life, be good, happy, do that thing that you want to do, as long as it's morally right and pleasing to God. Thank you very much.